Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Ransom Nyema. I'm a medical student based in Nigeria, and I'm studying radiography, and I'm in my study right now. And apart from my medical studies, I'm also a medical writer, and I do a whole lot of writings for a couple of healthcare companies around the globe. And today, I have an amazing guest today. Elena, could you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Thank you so much, Ransom. Hi, guys. I'm Elena. I'm a stress and mindset coach for first responders and health professionals around the world. And I am actually in Canada myself. I have been a coach since 2020. The end of 2020 is when I started to think about it. And in 2021 is when I actually got started. So I have been working with police officers, doctors, nurses, firefighters. And the reason why I work with those professionals is because I myself am also a nurse and I have been nursing for almost 14 years now. And for me, doing that, and especially with the people that I help, is the most important thing because, as you all know, all of us work so hard to give back to the community that we live in. We give as much of ourselves as we can, and oftentimes we don't take that time out for ourselves. So that's why I came out of the pandemic with this, because especially during the pandemic, a lot of people were affected and it took a big toll on their mental health. And
Absolutely.
that's why I do what I do.
Amazing, amazing, Elena. I love the fact that you did a swift what is called transitioning, and that's amazing. That's really amazing, and you're really doing a great job towards people. So, I have 8 questions for you to answer for the public. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Well, the first one goes like, okay, so can you share some practical tips for managing anxiety and stress in our daily lives? So what do you have to say about that?
So, one of the things I would say about anxiety is something that we worry about that's in the future. And knowing that that's what it is makes us be a little more aware of it, right? One of the things that we can do is just take some time for ourselves, close our eyes, center ourselves, and realize that even though our mind is racing into the future and what may or may not happen, the reality is we are not anywhere except in the present right now. So if we take some time to ground ourselves and to be present, that will start to shift things for us. One of the best ways to do this is just to close your eyes and do some breath work. There are so many different techniques of breath work that I teach, but something that is super easy, you don't really have to think about it a lot, is just to close your eyes, deep breaths in through the nose, and extend your exhales as long as you can. Because the exhales is when you start to feel your heart slowing down. Because when you're anxious, your heart rate spikes and you go into that fight or flight or freeze response. So we want to get you to slow down your heart rate and be more present. And it is super easy to do. You can do it anywhere because, as you know, we are so busy. We have a million priorities, and sometimes slowing down is super hard. The best thing we can do is to take that time out for ourselves. If it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in our crazy busy day, and slow things down. Slow things down.
Amazing. That's so spiritual, Elena. That's so captivating. Like, I believe that the audience will really practice this to try to like ease some stress and anxiety offers because this is part of our lives. Anxiety is amongst us. Stress is part of us. For instance, me as a medical student, there are sometimes I feel stressed I feel burnout, and yeah, I believe that with this video, it will definitely help people because there are many other medical students, medical professionals, and other people that will come across this video that are facing this, anxiety, stress, and all mental health stuff. I believe that if they go and practice this you just said, I believe that there will be a remedy in the anxieties and in the stress. So thank you so much for answering that question. That's really amazing. So the second one goes this way. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what are the common misconceptions about mindset coaching, right? How can it help someone improve their overall well-being as a mindset coach?
So one of the things that people often think that as a mindset coach, you know everything and you practice everything and you're perfect, right? There's no way anybody can be perfect. But what makes you better is choosing to continue to work on yourself every single day. Because life is challenging. We all have things that come up that bring us down, that make us frustrated, and that just bring down our confidence, right? It's all about learning how to flow with the life that we live. And part of that is just acknowledging that your mindset is not going to be perfect every day. It's just not possible. But in order for us to be able to get better, we need to learn how to improve our mindset and constantly work at it. So it always starts with what you say to yourself. What you say to yourself is so important because the more you say negative things to yourself, the more negativity you will see. So, for example, when people say, I am not good enough, I'm not smart, I can't do this, as soon as you say those words, as soon as you think them, you have to start flipping the switch. Because if you don't, you start to travel down the road of you will definitely not be able to. You will definitely not be smarter, right? Your mind is so powerful, it will create everything that you tell it to. So stop telling it the negative things and start looking at it and starting to change the narrative. Because at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
wherever you are right now, you can always change it. And that's all you need to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing. That's really amazing. So you talk about things that people do to sleep better, right? And that's
Yes.
amazing. So how can individuals incorporate better sleep habits into their routines to ensure quality sleep time? What do you have to say about that?
Sleep is one of the most essential things that we can do in our lives for ourselves. Sleep is my number one priority, to be quite honest, because without sleep, you can't have anything else. You can't have a good
Absolutely.
mindset. You're not coping with stress well. You're not eating well, which puts on more weight, which affects you mentally. And you kind of get stuck in that cycle. So with sleep, there are so many different components that affect your sleep. But I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that you can start implementing today. Number one, you have to have a dark room and the room has to be cooler than your typical time throughout the day. The reason is when we're going to sleep, our body temperature has to drop for us to be able to fall asleep and stay asleep. So your environment is so important. Blackout blinds, making sure the room is dark helps your melatonin levels to be produced to increase so that you can sleep better. And that way it's done naturally. The other thing you can do is making sure that you have a routine for your sleep. Yes, this is the hardest part, right? Because when we're working shift work, we can't always have the same routine. But the best thing I can tell you is when you're working a certain shift, have a certain routine. When you're working the other shift, have a different routine. But you have to have a routine. You need a routine because you need to program your brain to be prepared to go to sleep, right? If you're doing things that are inconsistent every single day, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work because your brain is trying to figure out a pattern. So that way it knows what to expect and then it knows what the next step is, right? If you don't have a routine, your brain can't help you to achieve that. So having a routine is super powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing. That's really amazing. So, how can one's mind affect the ability to sleep? What do you have to say about that?
Sorry, I didn't hear that quite well.
How can one's mindset, affect the ability to sleep well? What do you have to say about that?
One of the things that I find a lot of people have, including me for many years, is I would lay in bed and I would start thinking of a million things to do tomorrow. Am I going to be late? Do I have everything ready? Is it going to be a good day? Is my day going to work out the way I want it to? Am I going to be stuck in traffic? All of these things kind of start to spiral, right? And that is the most frustrating thing is when you're physically exhausted, you lay in bed, you close your eyes, you're ready, and then your brain just starts working and it goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do at that time is just sit up and do some journaling, right? Take everything out of your mind and put it on paper. Because as soon as you do that act, you will notice things are starting to get cleared up, right? You can't fall asleep if your mind is racing a million miles an hour. It's just not possible. So you just have to take the time to work through that one step at a time. And doing some breath work is very helpful as well. You can definitely do that before falling asleep. And, just know that whatever you tell yourself at that time is super important as well. So yes, you're starting to worry about tomorrow, what can be, but think of something that you can tell yourself that is a positive affirmation before you go to sleep to help settle those racing thoughts. That'll help to change things for you as well.
Wow. Amazing. I love the fact that you talked about affirmations and putting things down on the paper. And that's really amazing. It does clear things up. And it can save you time to start rethinking. For instance, as a writer, there are things that there are sometimes I have some writing juices in my head, some content. You know, since I've put it down on the paper, I can't forget it. The paper is just like a reference. In case I forget, I could just use the things I've put down on paper like for reference. So I love the fact that you talked about writing down. It will definitely help you because it helps to clear things in your brain up. And that's really, really a perfect strategy. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You're very welcome.
So this is the first question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what are some effective strategies for overcoming negative thinking and cultivating a positive mindset? What do you have to say about that?
One of the things that I want everybody to know is the first thought that comes into our head is something that we can never control. So making that something that you're aware of is super important. The reason why is because if we start punishing ourselves for the first thought that comes into our head, we're not serving ourselves. The second thought we can control. So as soon as you notice a negative thought coming into your head, flip the switch. Think about how you can say this thought and rephrase it so that it is in a negative light, in a positive light. Sorry. So let's say that something comes into your head, something like, "Oh, I need to lose some weight." Right? How many of us have that thought coming into our heads so frequently? Instead of thinking about that, How can you empower yourself? What can you rephrase it to? Well, what you can do is say, listen, I may not be where I am right now with my weight, but I am always working on it. I am always watching what I eat. I am trying to exercise more. I am trying to become a better version of myself. Because that is more empowering than sitting there and dwelling on the way that you perceive your body to be.
Absolutely. That's deep. That's really deep. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Eleanor. It's mind blowing. It will definitely help. Definitely help. So the sixth question goes this way. So many people struggle with maintaining a healthy work life. Work life balance. Do you have any suggestions or techniques for achieving this balance and reducing stress? What do you have to say about that?
So, the work life balance is one of the biggest things that I find from anyone I speak with. We all think that a work life balance has to be exactly a specific way that we've pictured it in our minds. And if it's outside of that, it's not normal and it's not working. Well, the reality of it is that we can't fit into a box, right? And that's what we're trying to fit into. So, what I have learned and what I have done myself is I've had to change my perception of this actually multiple times. And the latest perception of it that I've read about, and I said, you know what? This makes the most sense.
Yeah.
There's your work life and your personal life, and they're intertwined, right? But they're almost like a balance beam. So at some point, you have to realize you have to put more time into your work balance, and other times you have to put more work into your personal life because it's impossible to continue doing everything all the time every day. It's just not possible. Because if we do, that's when you start to burn out. That's when you start getting frustrated. That's when you start to spiral out of control. So, a perfect work life balance, it is what you make it. Because at the end of the day, it's whatever you need to concentrate on right now that is the essential part. And we go in and out of balance all based on where we are in our lives, what we want to achieve, what's happening in our lives, right? And this is a simple example of how this happens. If you're a parent and your kid gets sick, well, your family life is always going to take priority, always. And your work life will step back because at the end of the day, your family is the most important thing. So you will spend more time with your kid. You will take time off from work. You will do what you need to so that you can move back into work being more of a priority, right? We can't have this mindset around things being so strict. We have to be able to be more fluid with what we do in our lives and how we do it. But being conscious about what decisions you're making is the most important thing you can do. And you just got to realize it's a give and take relationship, just like it is in any single relationship.
Absolutely. That's really amazing. You really explained it very well. I love the fact that you just touched the main pain point about this question because the answer you gave me was the answer I was really requesting for. When I was doing my research, I came about this question. That was the answer that I was seeing on Quora, and I was seeing on types of places. That's a replicate of what you just said, and that's really amazing, really amazing. Thank you so much for answering that question.
You're very welcome.
The last question: How are you feeling today? How are you feeling today, Eleanor? The way you're answering these questions are really amazing. How do you feel about the last question? So this is the last question. How do you feel about it?
I feel great. I feel great. You know, sometimes I stumble on my words and you can tell it's just how I am. That's why everything comes as naturally as it does. But I feel great.
Yeah,
I really do. I have a lot of things
sure.
for today and I'm seeing my family, which is something I'm super excited about. So I feel great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. So this is the last question before we wrap up the session today.
Yeah.
Um, what are some simple yet effective self-care practices, that individuals can incorporate into their daily routines to prioritize their mental well-being? What do you have to say about
I would say three things. Top three things. I know a lot of you don't want to do some of them, but you got to do them anyway,
that? You
right?
have to.
You do. You really, really do. One of the things I'm going to say is exercise. The reason why is because when
Sure.
you're exercising, you're producing dopamine, producing the good feel hormone. And when you leave, you always feel so good, right? And exercise can be anything from walking to strength training to yoga to swimming to biking, running, whatever works for you. You have to choose something that you love and that makes you feel good. Because if you make it something that you don't want to do, you will never do it. Believe me, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
For sure, for sure. The other thing I want to say is get outside. I know it depends on where you live. I live in Canada. It's getting cold out, but you have to get outside. We all need vitamin D. We all need fresh air. Our lives are so stationary that we're not getting enough movement. So, getting outside is essential for our mental health. And the last thing that I would say is do something for yourself that makes you feel good. If it's enjoying your cup of coffee and being fully present in that moment, or listening to your favorite music, whatever makes you feel good, just do that. It doesn't have to be big, it just needs to be a few minutes. It doesn't have to be long. It's whatever works for you. Because when you start to do these little things that make you feel good, it starts that ripple effect. And once you start to feel good, you're able to show up better and you're able to impact more people in a way that you didn't even think you could. So try these things out. Try and make them your daily practice. Again, with any of them, it doesn't matter how long you do it for. Even 5 minutes makes a big difference. 5 minutes.
Sure.
I think we all have 15 minutes in our day to make ourselves feel good. Don't you?
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much, Eleanor. You answered several questions very accurately, naturally. It all came naturally, the answers. And really, that's really amazing, Eleanor. That shows that you're really effective. You're really, you know, doable in your things you're doing. And that's really acceptable. That's really amazing, Eleanor. And thank you so much for honoring my invitation. And so, what are your last words before we round up this session to the audience? What are your last words to the audience?
My last words would be if you're struggling right now, just know you're not alone. And the only thing that you really need to do every single day is to take care of yourself because you can't keep taking care of others if you don't take care of yourself. That is the most important thing that we all need to hear.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining in. So, if you want to reach out to Eleanor, on LinkedIn or in Instagram, I'm gonna put her details in the description below. You can just connect with her on LinkedIn or Instagram or any other social platform that will be attached below. So thank you, everyone. Do it to like, subscribe, share, we'll see you again. Thank you so much. Stop
Thank you.
recording.
Thank you so much, Ransom. And I'm so glad that I was able to come on here and share some nuggets of wisdom.
Some nuggets. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.